Have you ever felt confused by the subtle emotions, hidden intentions, or unpredictable actions of women? What if I told you there are 10 specific weaknesses, most women share weaknesses, you can learn to understand and use to navigate relationships with clarity and wisdom? Once you recognize these patterns, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. The truth is, many men rush into relationships without understanding the silent forces at play. Women, like men, have both strengths and vulnerabilities, and together, these shape the way they connect, communicate, and love. As a man guided by Stoic principles, your ability to recognize and understand these weaknesses can transform the way you approach relationships. Not only will it strengthen your connections, but it will also help you stay composed and wise, no matter the circumstances. By the end of this video, you'll have the insight to approach women with greater understanding, patience, and strength. So let's break down the 10 weaknesses every man should know. Number 1, fear of rejection. Rejection cuts deep for everyone, but for many women, it's an especially sensitive and complex emotion. It's not just about hearing the word no. It's about what that rejection means for their sense of worth, acceptance, and belonging. Unlike men who might deal with rejection through anger, frustration, or even indifference, women often turn it inward. This can spark self-doubt and a spiral of overthinking. But why does this happen? For many women, the need for validation starts early. Growing up, their worth is often tied to outside approval compliments on appearance, praise for being agreeable, or acceptance from peers. Over time, this constant reinforcement creates a deep link between validation and self-esteem. So when rejection happens, whether in love, work, or friendships, it's not just a simple no. It feels like a challenge to their very sense of value. It's not just the immediate situation that hurts. Rejection can stir up years of doubt, insecurity, and even unresolved pain. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone replaying the same scenario over and over in their mind, wondering what they did wrong or how they could have been better? It's a painful loop that can last hours, days, or even weeks. This fear of rejection is one of the reasons some women hesitate to express their true feelings or take risks in relationships. The thought of hearing no doesn't just sting in the moment, it carries the emotional weight of heartbreak, self-doubt, and vulnerability. As a Stoic man, it's important to approach this with awareness and compassion. Stoicism teaches us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Your role isn't to exploit this vulnerability or use it as leverage. It's to see it as a shared human experience and create an environment where she feels valued. So how do you do that? First, practice patience. If she seems hesitant or guarded, recognize that this hesitation may be rooted in a fear of being hurt. Instead of taking it personally or pushing harder, give her the space to feel safe and understood. Never pressure her to open up right away. Instead, let your consistency in both actions and words build a sense of security over time. Second, when you notice her doubting herself or fearing rejection, offer gentle reassurance. For example, if she asks, "Do you think I'm good at this?" or "Did I say something wrong?" respond with honesty and encouragement. Say things like, "You're overthinking, it's not about being perfect," or "What matters is that you tried," and that shows real strength. These small affirmations go further than you think. Lastly, remember that creating an environment of trust is less about big gestures and more about steady, everyday actions. Patience, reassurance, and reliability are what allow her to feel safe enough to lower her guard. Led by example, women respect men who handle rejection with grace and resilience. When you show that rejection doesn't define you, that it's simply feedbacks or part of life, you inspire her to adopt the same mindset. Over time, she begins to see that rejection isn't the end of the world, but a stepping stone for growth. In every interaction, remember that trust and connection grow when kindness meets understanding. By recognizing her fear of rejection and responding with calmness and empathy, you don't just ease her worries, you also deepen the bond between you, but also help her see herself in a new light, one filled with strength and potential. Now let's move to the second weakness, overthinking and self-doubt. Have you ever said something completely casual, only to watch it spark hours of introspection for someone? For many women, overthinking is a deeply ingrained habit, often tied to a need for clarity and emotional security. They tend to analyze relationships and conversations on a much deeper level than most men do. Something as simple as saying, "I'll call you later," can trigger a cascade of thoughts. Did I sound too eager? Did he really mean later? Or is he just being polite? Did I do something wrong? Eager? Was he annoyed? Does he even like me? This cycle of overthinking usually comes from self-doubt. In a world that constantly scrutinizes women, how they look, what they say, even how they feel, it's no surprise that many develop the habit of dissecting every interaction. A casual disagreement or a vague response can feel like rejection, leading them to search for hidden meanings in every word, tone, or gesture. Here's a simple example. Imagine a woman texting her friend about a stressful day, only to get a short reply like, "Oh, that's tough." While most people might shrug it off as a quick response, she may replay that message again and again. Does it mean her friend doesn't care? Did she say too much? Is she being a burden? What looks like a harmless text becomes a spiral of doubt. Brush it off? She might start thinking, did I overshare? Am I being a burden? Should I have just kept quiet? This spiral of doubt can be exhausting and emotionally draining. So how can you, as a Stoic man, help her navigate this? Your calmness and emotional stability can act as a powerful anchor. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control and release what isn't. By living this principle, you can gently guide her toward a more balanced perspective. So how do you approach overthinking? First, learn to recognize the signs. If she keeps circling back to the same question or replays a minor event over and over, it's not just small talk. It's her mind searching for reassurance. When someone is overthinking, they often seek reassurance. You might hear questions like, "Are you mad at me?" Or "Do you think I did something wrong?" Instead of brushing it off or dismissing her concerns, acknowledge her feelings. A simple response like, "I can see you're worried about this. What's on your mind?" can make her feel heard and understood. Second, avoid fueling her worries. When she's trapped in a spiral of what-ifs, resist the temptation to dive into overanalysis with her. Instead, bring her focus back to reality. For example, if she's stressing over a text that hasn't been answered, you might calmly say, "It doesn't mean anything bad, people get busy. Let's give it time." By offering steady reassurance without feeding the spiral, you show her that not every silence, pause, or vague response carries hidden meaning. Over time, your grounded presence can help her see that peace of mind comes from perspective, not perfection. If she's upset over a vague text from a friend, you might gently say, "You're reading too much into it. If something's wrong, they'll tell you." Until then, there's no point in stressing. This helps ground her thoughts without dismissing her feelings. Clarity is one of the greatest gifts you can offer in moments of doubt. If she's worried about a conversation you had, don't leave room for ambiguity. Be straightforward and honest. For example, if she asks, "Did I upset you earlier?" Instead of brushing it off with, "It's fine," say directly, "No, you didn't." That honesty cuts off the cycle of overthinking before it begins. As a Stoic man, your strength lies in calm communication. By giving clear answers and steady reassurance, you show her that her fears don't control the relationship. Over time, she'll learn that not every pause or silence has a hidden meaning, and that trust grows when truth replaces guesswork. Go. When she sees you handling setbacks without spiraling into endless what-ifs, she learns by example. Overthinking loses its grip when she realizes not every situation needs to be dissected or feared. Remember, your role isn't to silence her thoughts, but to guide her toward balance. With patience, honesty, and steadiness, you become the anchor that keeps her grounded when her mind starts to drift into overanalysis. Now let's move to the third weakness, one that often hides behind silence and unspoken words: the struggle with communication. Many women may hesitate to say what they truly feel, not because they lack emotions, but because they fear how those emotions will be received. And as a Stoic man, understanding this can completely change how you connect with her, showing her a healthier way to face it. When you provide calm reassurance and model emotional strength, you're giving her the tools to quiet her own doubts. Over time, she'll realize she doesn't need to get lost in endless scenarios to feel secure. She'll start trusting both herself and the stability you bring to the relationship. Now let's turn to the third weakness, one that often hides beneath quiet pauses and unsaid words: communication struggles. Many women hold back their true feelings, not because they don't care, but because they fear being misunderstood or judged. As a Stoic man, learning how to read between the lines and create space for open dialogue can transform the way you connect. Look like pure devotion, but here's the thing: emotional dependency can quickly turn into a double-edged sword. On one hand, it makes her loyal and deeply invested in the relationship. On the other, it can create pressure on both of you. She may start to rely on you for constant reassurance, validation, or emotional stability. And when that happens, even small disagreements can feel overwhelming to her. Why does this happen? For many women, emotional intimacy is where they feel the safest. When life gets hard, that bond feels like a lifeline. But if she begins to see you as her only source of comfort, she risks losing her sense of independence. And as a man, you might start feeling weighed down by expectations that no one can fulfill all the time. From a Stoic perspective, your role isn't to reject this need or pull away, it's to help her find balance. Encourage her to nurture her own sources of strength outside the relationship, whether it's personal goals, friendships, or passions. When she realizes that connection with you is an addition to her life, not the foundation of it, the relationship becomes stronger. The key is to support without enabling. Be present, listen deeply, and reassure her, but also remind her through your words and actions that her value and stability come from within, not just from your presence. That's how you transform emotional dependency into healthy emotional partnership. Philosophy, balance is everything. You don't have to reject her emotional needs, and you don't have to lose yourself in them either. What you need is a steady middle ground. When a woman leans on you emotionally, she isn't trying to control you. She's searching for stability, the same way we all do when life gets heavy. As a Stoic man, your job is to be that calm presence without letting the weight consume you. Listen when she shares, but don't rush to solve every problem. Support her, but also encourage her to find strength in herself. That's where the balance lies, being her anchor without becoming her entire foundation. Here's the truth. If you withdraw, she feels abandoned. If you overextend, you burn out. But if you remain steady, patient, and compassionate, you help her transform emotional dependency into emotional partnership. This kind of relationship thrives not on constant reassurance, but on mutual respect and shared resilience. So when she comes to you with her worries, don't see it as a burden, see it as an opportunity to lead with calmness, to practice patience, and to embody the strength she trusts you with. That's what turns vulnerability into connection and dependency into something deeper. Genuine love rooted in trust, losing yourself in the process. That's not strength, that's self-abandonment. On the other hand, if you shut down and refuse to engage with her emotions, you create distance and erode trust. The sweet spot is in the middle, showing up with empathy, but also holding on to your own center. A Stoic man understands that true support is not about solving everything. It's about listening, acknowledging, and guiding when needed, while still protecting his own peace of mind. Boundaries don't make you cold, they make you dependable. Because when you respect your own limits, the support you do give is genuine, not forced. Here's the real takeaway. Women don't want perfection, they want presence. They don't expect you to carry every emotional weight, but they deeply value a man who listens without judgment, speaks with clarity, and remains steady no matter the storm. That's what transforms emotional dependency into mutual trust and partnership. And clarity. For example, if she's upset about work stress, you don't need to get angry at her boss on her behalf. Instead, you can say, "I can see how that would be frustrating. What do you think would help you handle it?" This validates her feelings without pulling you into the storm. 2. Set healthy boundaries. Being supportive doesn't mean you're available 24/7 for every emotional need. If you're exhausted, distracted, or simply need space, communicate that with honesty. Say something like, "I want to give you my full attention, but I'm drained right now. Can we talk about this later tonight?" Boundaries like these don't weaken the relationship. They strengthen it because they keep your support authentic. 3. Encourage self-reliance. A Stoic man doesn't aim to be her emotional crutch forever. Instead, he gently guides her toward her own strength. You can do this by asking empowering questions, like, "How do you want to approach this?" or "What's within your control here?" Over time, this helps her grow, while reinforcing that your role is to walk beside her, not carry her. By handling emotional dependency this way, you avoid being consumed by it while still showing up as a steady, reliable partner. You embody balance, which is the essence of Stoicism in relationships. Small but powerful reminders help her build confidence in her own judgment instead of leaning on you for every answer. This not only reduces unhealthy dependency, but also strengthens her self-esteem over time. 3. Lead by example. Show her through your own actions how you handle challenges with calmness and self-reliance. When she sees you face setbacks without falling apart, it inspires her to develop the same resilience. Stoicism isn't about being cold. It's about showing steady strength in a way that uplifts those around you. At the end of the day, emotional dependency isn't something to fear. It's a sign of trust and intimacy, but it needs balance. By providing support without losing yourself, setting boundaries without detachment, and guiding her toward her own strength, you create a relationship built on respect and growth. Your support has limits, and that it's important for both of you to respect each other's space. Boundaries don't push love away, they protect it. For example, if she expects you to be available at every moment, explain kindly but firmly that while you care deeply, you also need time to handle your own responsibilities. This creates a healthier dynamic where her needs are acknowledged without draining you. When you empower her, encourage her independence, guard your energy, and set clear boundaries, emotional dependency transforms into emotional partnership. That's the real goal, not one person carrying the other, but both walking side by side with trust and respect. Can actually strengthen the bond instead of weakening it. When both people respect each other's emotions while maintaining their individuality, the relationship grows healthier and more resilient. The Stoic lesson here is simple. Don't fear emotional dependency, guide it. Accept it as a sign of trust, but balance it with boundaries and independence. In doing so, you create a partnership built not on neediness, but on mutual strength and respect. About being her anchor, someone steady, reliable, and clear-minded. That balance is what makes you trustworthy in her eyes. She knows she can lean on you, but she also sees that you stand firm on your own 2 feet. And that's the heart of it. Emotional dependency doesn't have to be a trap. With Stoic wisdom, it becomes an opportunity to deepen connection while keeping respect intact. First step to handling it with wisdom. Many women grow up in environments where their worth is constantly measured, how they look, how they behave, how likable they are. So when criticism shows up, it doesn't land as a simple observation. It digs into years of conditioning that says, "You're not enough." Think about it. A casual comment like, "You look tired today," can sting far more than the speaker intended. What she hears might not be about fatigue at all. It might translate into, "You don't look good enough," or "You're slipping." That's the weight of sensitivity to criticism. It's not just the words in the moment, it's the echo of old doubts and insecurities. Now, as a Stoic man, your role isn't to walk on eggshells or avoid honesty. It's about learning how to deliver truth with kindness and how to respond when criticism triggers hurt. The Stoic path here is balance, neither sugarcoating everything nor being blunt in a way that wounds. You start by remembering one of the core Stoic principles. Control what you say and how you say it, because once words leave your mouth, you can't take them back. Criticism delivered harshly can damage trust in ways that are hard to repair. But when it's delivered thoughtfully, it can actually strengthen the relationship. Here's how to approach it, the Stoic way. 1. Choose your timing. Don't criticize in the heat of the moment or when emotions are already high. Wait until both of you are calm. A quiet, steady tone is far more effective than blunt remarks fired off in frustration. 2. Separate the person from the behavior. Instead of saying, "You're careless," say, "That action caused a problem, but I know you didn't mean it that way." This helps her see you're addressing a behavior, not attacking her character. 3. Lead with empathy. Acknowledge the effort behind the mistake before pointing out the issue. For example, "I see you put a lot of thought into this, but here's one thing I think could be even better." This softens the sting and shows respect. 4. Be ready to listen. Sometimes criticism isn't just about what you say, it's about how you handle her reaction. If she feels hurt, don't rush to defend yourself. Instead, Say, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. Can you tell me what part stung the most? That shows humility and care. 5. Balance truth with reassurance. Stoicism isn't about cold honesty. It's about clarity paired with compassion. Criticism should never leave her doubting her worth. Always make it clear that one mistake doesn't define her. Handled this way, criticism stops being a wedge and becomes a tool for growth. You remain steady and honest, while she feels respected and safe. A step back and ground yourself first. Ask, what's the real goal here? Do I want to vent, or do I want to help us grow? Stoicism teaches you to focus on what's useful. Venting may feel good in the moment, but it rarely strengthens a bond. Feedback, when delivered wisely, does. Here's how to put that into practice. 1. Start with appreciation. Before pointing out the issue, remind her of what you value. Something as simple as, I really appreciate how much you care about this, creates an atmosphere of respect. 2. State the issue clearly, without judgment. Instead of, you always do this, try, when this happened, it made me feel frustrated. That shifts the focus from blame to impact, which is easier to receive. 3. Invite her perspective. After sharing your concern, give her room to respond. What's your take on it? This transforms the moment from a lecture into a dialogue. 4. End with reassurance. Let her know your criticism doesn't shake your respect or affection. I'm bringing this up because I care about us, not because I doubt you. The point is to guide, not wound. By staying calm, clear, and compassionate, you show her that criticism doesn't have to mean conflict. It can be an opportunity for both of you to grow stronger together. Be real, this doesn't mean you sugarcoat everything or avoid honesty. The Stoic way is about clarity without cruelty. You can be direct while still being kind. For example, instead of letting resentment build, you can say, I think we could handle this differently next time. What do you think? That frames the problem as something you're tackling together, not as her personal failing. Another key point: pick your battles. Not every mistake or small flaw needs to be pointed out. Ask yourself, does this matter in the long run? Or am I reacting to a fleeting annoyance? Stoicism reminds us to separate what's truly important from what's just noise. Handled this way, criticism doesn't weaken the relationship. It strengthens it. Because now, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about growth, understanding, and respect. True test of strength isn't in how sharp your words can be, but in how much wisdom you show when delivering them. A Stoic man doesn't use criticism as a weapon. He uses it as a tool for growth, both his and his partner's. If you frame feedback with empathy, you turn it into an act of support rather than judgment. Instead of saying, you're too sensitive, you might say, I see this really matters to you, and I want us to figure it out together. That shift in tone makes all the difference. It tells her you value her feelings while still being honest. What this really means is that criticism isn't the enemy. The enemy is careless delivery. When you take the time to be clear, calm, and compassionate, you build trust instead of breaking it. And trust is the foundation of any strong relationship. Pointed out something she did that bothered you, and she reacts with hurt or defensiveness. Instead of saying, see, this is why I don't like bringing things up, you could respond with, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted us to talk about how we can make this better together. That simple shift changes the entire dynamic. You're not escalating the tension, you're diffusing it. You're showing her that criticism isn't rejection, it's collaboration. And here's the key. Stoicism isn't about bottling up your feelings or pretending problems don't exist. It's about addressing them with clarity and calmness, so that even difficult conversations strengthen the bond instead of weakening it. A chance for growth and mutual understanding. By framing it this way, you shift the focus from her being wrong to both of you working together. That changes criticism from an attack into an opportunity to strengthen the relationship. Here's the takeaway. When you deliver feedback with patience, clarity, and compassion, you create an environment where she feels safe enough to hear you without feeling diminished. As a Stoic, your role isn't to avoid hard conversations, but to handle them in a way that builds trust instead of tearing it down. Rather, an opportunity for growth. This mindset encourages open communication and a more productive conversation. The Stoic approach to criticism isn't about avoiding difficult conversations or sugarcoating everything. It's about offering feedback in a way that's constructive, respectful, and compassionate. By doing so, you create a space where your partner feels safe to hear the truth without feeling diminished or belittled. Now, you may be wondering, what if she doesn't respond well even with the most passionate delivery? That's a valid concern. The truth is, some people have a harder time accepting criticism than others, and that's where your patience comes in. Remember, a Stoic isn't rattled by the reactions of others. If she reacts defensively, it's important to stay calm and steady. Offer her space to process the feedback without pressuring her. Sometimes it's not the message that's the problem, but the timing or the emotional state that makes it hard to hear. Over time, this approach builds trust. Understanding in the relationship, she will learn that your feedback comes from a place of care, not criticism. As you continue to practice emotional composure and compassionate communication, the relationship grows stronger. She will begin to feel more comfortable accepting feedback and even using it to improve herself. That ultimately creates a deeper connection between you both. To wrap up, sensitivity to criticism is something we all face, but it doesn't have to create conflict. By approaching it with patience, empathy, and emotional resilience, you can transform how criticism is received in your relationship. Remember, as a Stoic, your emotional control is your greatest strength. By responding with calmness and understanding, you not only diffuse tension, but also create a stronger, more supportive bond. Now let's move to desire for security. Have you ever wondered why the idea of security resonates so deeply with women? It's not just about having a roof over your head or money in the bank. Security is a much deeper, more emotional need. For many women, the need for security is about finding someone who can weather life's storms without falling apart. Imagine this. A woman faces countless uncertainties in her daily life pressures from work, family, or even societal expectations. In moments of vulnerability, she doesn't just seek someone who can provide solutions. She seeks someone who is the solution through his calm, steady presence. That's where a man's stability becomes irresistible. But let's be clear, this isn't about flaunting wealth or showing off material possessions. True security comes from a deeper place. It's about emotional stability. A Stoic man embodies this by staying grounded even when the world feels chaotic. He doesn't react impulsively or let emotions dictate his actions. Instead, his calmness reassures others that everything will be okay. Think about it. A man who keeps his word, handles challenges with grace, and stays composed under pressure sends an unspoken message. You can rely on me. That kind of consistency is rare, and that's exactly what creates a sense of lasting security. Why is this so valuable? Consider financial security as well. It's not about being rich, but about showing responsibility. A man who manages his resources wisely, avoids reckless decisions, and plans for the future naturally gives a sense of safety. Women don't want someone who spends lavishly today only to worry about tomorrow. They want someone who builds a foundation for a lasting future. And here's the key. Strength isn't about control, it's about consistency. A Stoic man doesn't feel the need to dominate or manipulate to prove his worth. Instead, his steady character and balanced decisions create an environment where trust can thrive. And trust, more than anything, is the bedrock of security. When you embody this kind of strength, both emotional and practical, you offer something rare: peace of mind. And that, my friend, is a treasure no one can resist. When you understand these 10 weaknesses, you gain more than just insight. You gain the ability to build deeper, more meaningful connections. Instead of being reactive, you become intentional. Instead of feeling confused, you move with clarity and purpose. You feel confident. Stoicism teaches us that wisdom and understanding are the foundation of all relationships. Every man guided by Stoic wisdom should approach relationships with empathy, patience, and clarity. By recognizing these weaknesses, you can navigate the complexities of relationships with strength and purpose, turning challenges into opportunities for growth for both you and the women in your life. If this insight resonated with you, subscribe for more wisdom or watch the next video to continue your journey.